if you want to forward it on to anyone. I'm Philippa from Host Aotearoa, and I'm very pleased to welcome Gemma Richardson, Customer Success Manager for Seek New Zealand, who's going to talk to you today about how to use Seek, the job searching tool, in the best possible way. We'll have questions at the end of the session, so please do feel free to enter your questions in the chat box and we'll get to them. And if we don't get to them all, we'll follow up with an email later on. So welcome, Gemma. Thank you for coming.
Morena, how are you going? Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Should I start? Should I get going?
Yes, please start.
Awesome. Okay. So, kia ora koutou. Croeso, bore da. My name is Gemma Richardson. I'm a Customer Success Manager and I'm originally from Wales, but I have been in the lovely country of New Zealand for a decade now. And I have worked with Seek for 9 years of that, so very long time. My role as a Customer Success Manager is actually on the hirer side. So I'm usually working with the top teams and recruiters in New Zealand, trying to get them to get the best out of Seek, so they can actually find people like yourselves. But on my spare time and over the last kind of 6 years, I've really leaned into the candidate space, and I love doing these sessions and taking you through how you can get the best from Seek. So this is today's session, taking you all through Seek's tools and resources. And again, as Philippa said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put it in the chat box. So the agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit about the market and give you a little bit of a market update and things to consider. And then once I go into that, the things like to consider are kind of interviews, things like that. And then we'll jump into all the Seek tools and resources at your disposal. And then I'm really going to hone in on Seek profile. So I'm not sure those of you on the line who are aware or have a Seek profile. It is your kind of digital network on Seek where you can put in all your information and hirers can proactively find you in our system. So I want you to be across how to get the best out of it, but I also want to flip that over and I want to show you what the hirer sees when they're looking for you for the Seek profile, just so you can get the best out of that. So who is Seek? So we're the #1 employment website in New Zealand and Australia. We have been around in New Zealand and Australia for over 23 years, and our business isn't just in New Zealand and Australia, it's actually across the globe, especially in our Asia Pacific market. So if you are online and you've heard of Jobs DB in Asia, we own that from a Seek perspective. Our products are on the candidate side and the hirer side. So in a way, the products that Seek build are only partially what we do. Candidates are at the core of what we do. So everything that we build is for the candidate, and they are so important for us. We call them the kings and queens of our business, and that's why I'm here talking to you today. We're driven by this purpose all the way from the CEO to myself in my role as a success manager, and that's why we're getting out of bed in the morning. That's what we're looking at to build in our technology and all the conversations that we're having. So we're here really as a purpose to make sure that people are living more fulfilling and productive working lives. So that's the candidate side of our purpose. And the secondary side is to help businesses succeed. So that's the hirer side. But today we're really honing in on, how do we help people have really fulfilling and productive working lives? Of course, for you, working in New Zealand is important. It's important, obviously, so you have that independence or you're supporting your family, but it also helps you meet new people and settle into the New Zealand community. Of course, you have Host helping you, you have lots of other agencies and working income that are going to be there to help you find suitable jobs. Today is just about Seek, though, so I'm going to really hone in on Seek as an individual, but remember, it's not just Seek. There are different avenues for you to find work as well. So the market, let's get into a quick market update, just to give you that context and a little bit of perspective. We can only set realistic expectations when we know what we are what we are working with and what we are working within. So this is the overview of the market. So this is March 2022 data. So jobs have actually increased 15% year on year. If we look at 2021 versus 2022, and we're actually at 39% compared to 2019, so before we actually went into COVID. So what does that tell us? We have a lot of jobs. It is the great job boom in New Zealand. I have never seen so many opportunities and jobs out there in the market. Businesses and hirers are struggling. They are struggling for talent. So they're having to be a lot more flexible in the types of candidates that they're looking for, which is always a bonus in a candidate market. So for yourselves. Applications, there was actually a drop of applications for months and months. However, we have started to see a little bit of an uplift in applications per job by 5% month on month, but there had been that drop. Some of the top industries that I really want to hone in on today are your ICT, so your information and communication technology. That's really driving roles on site. So if you're working within that kind of industry, there's plenty of opportunities out there. Manufacturing, transport and logistics, trades and services, healthcare, admin, which makes sense considering we're all starting to look at going back into the offices. And then you have your hospitality. So there's been some substantial growth in the hospitality sector, especially since the borders are starting to reopen. So if we think about this, the hospitality sector, again, continuing to boom, it's jumped actually 31% in that last month. And again, for admin and office, it's actually rose by 17%. So some huge lifts across all the industries in New Zealand. So some positive signs that we can see, especially for the candidates, because right now it is a candidate-driven market. Candidates are becoming a lot more selective as well. So that's why we saw a bit of a drop in those application rates. There is job security, candidates potentially being happy in their own position. There's lots of conversations around salary right now, but also there is so much choice. So hirers are competing for the talent. So what do we need to keep in mind? So I've talked to you about the market and what we're seeing. So there's a few things to keep in mind. So number one, we need to remove our own biases to begin with. So we want to get rid of any biases or misconceptions that you may have about yourselves in New Zealand. So some of those negative beliefs could be the feeling that you may not have local work experience, so you won't be considered. In this market where hirers are looking for flexibility, talk about your experience, whether it's in New Zealand or not. All experience or transferable skill sets are important. The second one might be English skills might be holding you back. But remember, working with your agency to improve your English, there's also so many roles out there where basic English will do. Third belief, potentially, is that your name might clearly indicate that you weren't born in New Zealand, but I'll give you a bit of a fact check. In 2018, 27.4% of people living in New Zealand were not born here. And that was 2018. There's going to be a lot of growth since then. And remember as well, we're going to have second, third, fourth generational migrants whose names may not be anglicised like myself or European. Of course, it'd be naive to say there is no such thing as bias or unconscious bias in the market. However, hiring teams in New Zealand are a way ahead of other countries in the world in regards to diversity and inclusion and being aware of unconscious biases and being trained on it. Next thing is thinking digital. So, what do you have in terms of your social? So I always say to you, please cleanse your social. Have a look at the Seek profile, which I'll take you through later. Also think of any LinkedIn. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure it's up to date, all the information is in there. The basics will never change, such as a CV, so a resume or a CV. However, we need to be thinking a lot more about our digital footprint out in market, but also social. Bit of sound there. Okay, next thing is your transferable skill sets. So really think about what transferable skills that you have in the current climate. This is becoming so much more important. So I want you to kind of think about what are those transferable skills that can really help you step into roles. We have lots of information within Seek, and I'll send you links. So you're going to get all these slides. I'm going to send you some follow-up as well that Philippa can add onto the site, and links to articles and templates that can really help you sit down and delve into your transferable skill sets, because they are sometimes equally as important to really effectively sell in your conversations and in your CV when you are out in the market. And this is what hirers want to see. They want to see those transferable skill sets as well. So really hone into that, learn what your transferable skill sets are, and always have a experience or something that you can quantify. So always have an example when you're really leaning into your transferable skill sets. Leverage your networks. Tell everyone you are looking for a job. A lot of roles come about by word of mouth, by referral. So tell everyone that you know that you are looking for work. Think of the types of roles that you're looking for. Find the people that you can build those relationships with. Really lean on your agencies and any help that you have available so they can try and get you in front of the right people to lead you down the right path to get into the roles that you're looking for. But also be open to new types of work. So potentially you'll need to maybe go step by step when you're in New Zealand to move towards the role that you really and truly want. You can always get your qualification assessed as well, just to see whether it is recognised in New Zealand. And sometimes you may need to do further study again. Your agencies and work and income can really help assist you there. And I always say think about the short and the long term. So it depends on your steps and goals, but really have a positive attitude and remain open to all those work opportunities. I was the same, really going step by step, just getting in those opportunities, getting that experience can really, really help you. The main thing as well, I do talk about this a lot, is really sharpen your attention to detail. Detail does matter. And I'll talk about that shortly, about your CV and the application process, how in every single aspect, we need to make sure that your grammar is correct, your spelling is correct. I am an English speaker, that's my first language, and my second being Welsh. The issue for me is that I still need someone to look over my CV. I still need someone to look over my application just to get a second pair of eyes on there. You may need more assistance with that, so really lean in for help with templates, for CVs, for looking at your English and your grammar, because again, for me as a fluent speaker, as first language, I still make mistakes and need people to look for me. So when we're looking for roles, what are the key things we really need to focus on? So kind of my top tips is we want to be focusing on the search. So what am I looking for? What types of jobs? Know where to search. So again, I'm talking to you from a Seek perspective today, but there are other places you may want to go and have a look as well. And be patient, have a plan, and just keep going. I'll give you some examples of transferable skills, because before I was saying sometimes people get a bit confused or wonder, what are my transferable skill sets? So here's some examples for you. So when you're going through this, you can kind of think of this as a bit of a checklist. And as I said before, think about examples that you can utilize potentially in a CV or when you are having conversations within your interviews in regards to these transferable skill sets. All right, let's jump into the Seek tools and resources. So straight away, you can see that I've got a little URL link, and that's to the seek.co.nz Career Advice Portal. We've created a career advice portal for you. We have numerous articles based on really easy to navigate features, from CV writing to job hunting guidance, to interview tips, career planning, development support, advice on any career changes, and there's also market insights and trends sitting in there as well. But this is updated consistently, and they're up-to-date articles as well, so giving you a gauge of what's happening right now in the market. You can subscribe to this, and I highly recommend you do, and we'll send you tailored advice on a monthly basis. So on a monthly basis, you can get some tailored career advice that lands on into your inbox, which is really amazing and worthwhile. So let's talk a little bit about that application checklist. This comes from an actual article and the top 7 tips, and I'll send you the direct link to the article, which goes into it in more depth. Today, though, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the CV. And what I tell you in the tips, for example, I will add in an extra slide. So when you do have the slides in the follow-up, you can just go and you can hear what I'm saying. And I'll put it in a nice, easy slide for you. So number one is just review the application requirements. So really understand what the business or the hirer is looking for in that job ad. So always read the details, but remember, don't knock yourself out if you do not fit all the requirements. Never knock yourself out. Think about transferable skill sets. Think about what they're saying is a must-have and a nice-to-have. And never say, oh, I have 8 out of 10 of those, I can't do the job. It's always worth applying. So review the application requirements. And then highlight those experiences and achievements in your CV. So what should your CV include? As I said before, double check everything, triple check everything, especially your contact details. That's where people usually fall flat. Incorrect contact details are not up to date. So you want your contact details presented really professionally. You want your email and your phone. I'd also recommend, from an address perspective, that you put a suburb in there, at least a suburb. So I'm in Auckland and I'm in my little box room in Kingsland, so a suburb of Auckland. If you put a suburb there, the reason why I say that, a few reasons. When you apply for a role, your CV usually goes into a business's system and they will parse it. So they will look for information through the system. And one of those areas is an address. Also, from a Seek perspective and a Seek profile, when hirers and businesses are looking for candidates, they will try and find people in specific areas as well. So if you do put your suburb in the CV, it will actually help you being found in lots of data and technical arenas for hirers. And that's what they're doing right now. So a lot of hirers are using technology to find you and sift through candidates. So keep your suburb in there as well. And so experience, including transferable skill sets and measurable achievements. So think of measurable outcomes such as time savings, cost savings, process streamlining, staff efficiencies, revenue, performance improvements, service improvements. Highlight your strongest selling points and then obviously have education in there or references upon demand. Ideally, you want to tailor the CV or resume. And if you are doing that, look at the ad itself. So look at the advert for the job description and read it. What I have done in the past is I would get a marker and I would go through and I would look at words and types of terms that they use in the ad and try and reflect that either in my cover letter or add a couple of those into my CV. So just keep that, and that might help get you through as well if you look at the skills they're asking for and match the type of language in your CV. Because again, as I was saying before, sometimes resumes go through kind of technology and some of that is automated. So make sure that you get through. Do not include your photo, your age, your marital status, your nationality, your religion, or your current or desired salary. So don't include those in your CVs. They are not needed. So yeah, I do not recommend. Tailor your cover letter as well. We have a lot of hirers that appreciate a cover letter, and I'll talk about that in the next slide in a bit more depth. Double check your details and your spelling. I've said that a few times now, but honestly, it's the biggest faux pas. And when I have conversations with hirers and recruiters on a daily basis, it's one of their major bugbears. And then send in the application. So check the application, send it in, and just then be prepared for a call or a follow-up. So just make sure that you are prepared for that follow-up, whether it be on a phone, online, and we can go from there. Cover letter. So it's not always necessary, but I would still kind of do that. We have an article that shows you how to write cover letters. And again, I'll send you all the links and all the templates for you. You can write that as a, in an email directly to a hiring manager potentially. But yeah, they want a short purpose and explain why you're interested in the role and what, why you're a good fit for that position. So that's really what the hiring managers are looking for. So they're looking for you to just be really short and sweet, explain why you're interested in that position and what you can actually bring to that role. This is just a little kind of screenshot that you would see on the careers page with all the little handy hints. So they are our templates. So they're our top templates. There's also a new, really interesting part of career, which is an interview builder. So you can actually practice interview questions from Seek. So you can build out specific questions and you can practice that. So when you are thinking about your interviews, think about maybe a situation, a problem, or an opportunity, how you approach certain tasks, what outcomes you achieved. Really practice storytelling. I am storytelling on a daily basis and have been doing this for 7 years. It takes a lot of practice. And what is practice? Record yourself. I record myself consistently when I run training sessions, and I re-listen to myself. I'll probably actually re-listen to myself doing this as well. Role play with friends, role play with mentors. Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback for each interview that you have, because if you don't ask for feedback, how can you improve? And then, of course, the interview 101. So remember that position description. Remember the organization. The hiring managers are expecting you to know a little bit about the organization and ask questions. Think about the LinkedIn profiles potentially of an interviewer, the organization's competition. You may want to look at annual reports depending on the role you're going for. Prepare and practice your responses. The interview builder can help you with that. Just plan the trip, but also be prepared for online. So be prepared for a Zoom or a Teams. And if that is the case, you need to be set up in advance and practice and make sure you are in a really quiet environment if you can. And if you can't, explain that to the hirer. Dress professionally. I'm in my Seek t-shirt today, obviously. But of course, prepare for the job. Go live, turn off any mobile phones, and then be on time. That's probably the biggest one, be on time. Okay, so let's carry on and talk a little bit about this career advice page. So when you're on Seek, you will see 3 big tabs. So you've got your job board, your profile, and then your career advice, and that's where you need to go. So you just need to go in and you can type in anything specifically that you're looking for, but there are 3 primary areas, which are job hunting, making a change, and working life. So they're kind of the 3 main components. Another thing as well, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I'll just show you. When you are searching, you actually do have the ability, I'm just going to jump over just through a page, I just want to show you this. You can actually look for work from home. So if you are looking for any opportunities that are work from home or have that work from home component, because it's not potentially 100% work from home, it might be more of a hybrid working, you can search for those types of jobs on site now. So I just want you to be aware of that. Okay, so as I was saying before, and when I was introducing Seek, we've been around for over 23 years and we have a lot of data. I wanted to give you a bit of a concept of how big Seek is in terms of scale. So these are accurate, up-to-date stats. So we're getting 1,000 searches per second during the day in New Zealand and Australia, and 100 searches per second during the night. That's leading to 89 million impressions, job views, and applications per day. So we're getting, that's across the whole Seek business. So we're getting millions upon millions of interactions, and we're using all this data to try and ensure that we're getting relevance to you. So we're trying to ensure and kind of understand what you're searching for as a candidate. And the more sophisticated we have got, the more that we can lean towards that individual search behavior. So we can actually look at what you're actually looking into. We can use all the information in your profile to match you to the right types of jobs that you're looking for. So how do you search smarter on Seek? It's pretty simple. The first one is you need to sign in. So you need to have a login and you need to sign in directly to Seek. When you sign in, we can use all our smarts and all our technology to really tailor results based on what you are doing on Seek. From a security perspective, we now have introduced kind of 2-factor authentication. So just be aware of that when you are kind of sorting everything out, setting everything out from a Seek perspective. we are really high on our security. So we may be asking you for more information, and so you can actually say, this is my account and this is who I am. So just be aware we have really increased that over the recent months just because of security and what's happening in the market. So you can really trust your information and your data with Seek. When you're searching for a job, use job titles. Think of the role that you are looking for. When you look for a role on Seek, the intelligence and the smarts behind it, we understand similar role titles, we understand similar roles that type of candidates search for. So we know if you search for barista, for example, you might be searching for numerous roles across hospitality. If you search for chef, however, we know that obviously there is the additional skill sets for chef. So we would just be sorting up those chef roles. If we were looking at a pot washer, for example, we would know there'd be lots of different roles that they might be looking for within hospitality. Same with ICT. So anyone who works within ICT or people working with the admin, we understand the different roles that you will be searching for in those areas as well. And we use all of that for you. So really ensure that you're logged in and you're searching for opportunities. And when you do search in the what box, search via keyword job titles. I highly recommend. You could also look at entry level. I do know lots of roles will have entry level in there or part-time. So you can play around with those types of keywords. But mainly I would try and stick to a job title specifically. And you do actually have the opportunity to save searches. So if you are looking for roles consistently, because obviously this is a process, you may want to save certain roles. And when roles fit your criteria, you'll get an email saying, hey, here's some roles you might be looking at. And I'll show you that now. Just jump onto the Seek platform so you see. So this is the Seek platform. And this is me, Gemma, me logged in. If I am searching for a role, so say I put, say machine operator, just a random role there. If I wanted to save similar roles, I could actually go in there and I could heart that information. So if I'm looking for similar roles, I can go here, which is save this search. I'm just highlighting it now for you. I can click save. And then if any roles fit into machine operator, I will get an email that morning. Of course, I've done no location, so I can go really granular. So say, for example, I'm going to put Elsley, Auckland, and Seek, and then I save that again. So you can go granular in location, and this will really, really help you to understand the roles that are in your surroundings. If you're looking to move out into the regions or you're in the regions, you can really hone in on those roles by using the location box. If I click on the Gemma, all your saved searches will be sitting there. So you have the heart, that's where your saved searches are sitting, the saved jobs. So if you have any roles that you want to save and go to later, jobs that you've applied for, and any recommendations that we will give you. So we're looking at what you're doing when you're logged in, what you're clicking into, what you're applying for. And based on that, we recommend jobs on that. So that's why I'm saying log in, do your searching so we can really understand and recommend roles to you, as well as understanding what you want to save. So you control everything here, and all your privacy settings will sit under settings. So you control all the privacy. So just remember the settings, you control all that privacy on Seek. So next thing really to remember in searching are these three components. Signing. Think about your keywords in your search and set up alerts and notifications. They're kind of the three main tips to remember when you're using the Seek platform. Now let's have a look at Seek Profile. So what is a Seek Profile? So I kind of alluded to it earlier. There's two ways to use Seek. So the first one is to apply for jobs, and the second one is to be approached by employers. So we have thousands of employers searching for candidates using the Seek Talent Search platform. If we think of the market and less talent, transient talent, and lower application rates in the market, it's not a Seek thing, it's just what's happening in the market. We know that businesses are really competing for this talent, and they are getting a lot more interested and using proactive sourcing, whether it be Seek Talent Search or LinkedIn. When they're using Seek, however, we want to ensure that you put the best foot forward with that profile. And there's a few more things to think about with your profile. So of course, you're there for hirers to connect with you proactively, but this also helps with those recommendations that I was talking about earlier. So that'll help recommendations. So we look at your search behavior, but also all that profile information. If you're applying for jobs on a mobile, it will actually help you pre-fill applications as well. So again, from efficiency, speed, you can attach multiple CVs to your profiles. You have up to 10 CVs that you can play around with. You'll have your default CV, which the hirers can access. But if you really want to have certain tailored CVs for certain roles, you can play around with that as well. Again, you control all that privacy, and this is where you can really showcase your skills, your experience, and your highlights. So if we jump into finding your way around your Seek profile, I'm going to quickly show you what mine looks like. So if I click onto the second tab and click profile, this is my profile. Of course, my profile is bare bones because I don't want you knowing too much about me, okay? But for yourselves, building this up, we want to have as much information as possible. So you can edit your personal details. I obviously have my works email sitting in here. And we can also look at your profile and help you build out a CV. So when you have a really full profile with lots of information, we can actually help build out your CV based on all that information. We call it a CV builder. So we have templates, but we can also help build out a CV in this way as well. You can look at your profile visibility. Key thing that I recommend is to always ensure that you are standard. I am hidden at the moment, so you've got standard where you can be found by employers. You have limited where you hide your CV, but you can still be found, and then you have hidden. The only reason I'm hidden is because I'm on Seek every single day, and I'm giving off signals that I'm looking for roles when I'm just using it for my job. So just keep that in mind. And then you can update lots of information here and lots of tips on how you can really build out your CV. You can put in a personal summary here. It's a really good way of introducing who you are. And then all your career history can be sitting in here. So put as much information and depth into the career history as possible. Your education, you can put in any licenses that you have and certifications. But this is a really useful little tool here. So this is where you can add all those transferable skill sets, keywords. The more keywords, the better. Your languages, so put in the languages that you speak in here as well, and then you can upload your CV at this point. And then here as well, you can kind of edit some preferences. So you can talk about your availability for work, the preferred types of work, whether it be contract or full-time, and your preferred location. So I have all Auckland. However, I'm actually saying I am willing to relocate to other areas in New Zealand. So this is a really good way for you to put yourself out there to hirers in different areas to where you are currently living and residing. So if you want to move out into Hawke's Bay, for example, you can say that as a preference, and then that allows hirers to know that you're actually looking into those areas as well. And then this classification of interest, this is not for a hirer to see. This is just for us to kind of understand a bit of a gauge. So you can change that, but a hirer doesn't see that. So don't think you're putting yourself in a box by adding that in there as well. And then you have salary expectation, and then your right to work. But again, that's not mandatory, and neither is salary expectation. So yeah, so that's your profile and a really quick little demo. But it's good for you to kind of have a look and see what you see, because I'm going to show you shortly what a hirer sees. So yeah, so again, I'll just kind of reiterate the kind of things to stand out and the kind of top tips and common mistakes that we're finding really with profiles. So number one, ensure your profile privacy, set it to standard so you can be contacted about opportunities. Recruiters do use location. So I was talking about that before, right? So just ensure that you have your home address on your CV, or at least a suburb, with your specified working locations as well on your profile. Make sure your profile and CV are both up to date and matching. Probably the biggest feedback I get from recruiters and hirers is that they will download a CV because they're trying to get the information to contact you, but the CV information and the profile information aren't aligned. It's just a little bit frustrating. So just remember to ensure your profile information, which I showed you just then, and your CV are quite aligned, and the data and the dates are matching. And just ensure all spoken key terms. So before you put in all those keywords and key skill sets. So just make sure that all spoken tech language or technical acumen and languages from skills to qualification and industries, that is all in there. It just makes you a lot easier to find. So now let's quickly show you what a hirer sees. So this is what a hirer sees. So for them, it's not just about finding the right person for the job. They're also looking for people that they can potentially build out for future positions into roles, for talent pipelining, for conversations, for potentially, they might have numerous companies that they might be working with if they are a recruiter, if they are working for a business, and they might be thinking for a role right now, or kind of talking to you to get a bit of an idea of where you want to be sitting and your thoughts. So it's not just about really finding the right job for you either. It is about finding that right kind of company in the end. And we've really kind of provided, from a SEEK perspective, some really safe areas, and we're building out more information on companies, just so you know, in the next kind of 6 to 12 months to kind of help you with that. But as I said before, research, and then make sure information in here is right. This is the landing page for hirers. They land here, they will have a look, and then they will type. So they'll usually type in a role title. So that's how they usually search. So if they're searching for you by name, they might actually search by name, but they will usually go with a role title and put lots of different variations of that role title. Once they've done that, they're going to land here. So they're looking for that perfect candidate for their role. But as I said before, it's not just about the role right now, especially in the market the way it is. They're just looking to build relationships with candidates as well. And they will filter based on information that you've included in that profile, which I took you through, from location to the industries, to your jobs, to key terms, all of that. When you're using SEEK consistently, we'll actually flag you as approachable. So when a hirer is looking, can you see the little pink underneath saying may be approachable? So if you see that may be approachable sitting in there, that is just us looking at your behaviors on SEEK. So there's lots of different signals that we're looking at. It's like 23. We're looking at the relevancy of your searching on SEEK, the consistency. So how often are you going to SEEK? What are you updating? What are you doing? And we're looking at your profile information as well. So there's lots of information we look at. And if we think that you're a bit more open to a conversation, we'll just flag you as that signal. So number one, if you're looking for work, you really want to be on SEEK consistently, because you will be shown as approachable to hirers on the platform. And they actually can go in and filter by that as well. So really keep an eye on your behaviors, and just remember that this is just allowing hirers to see, whether you're open to opportunities as well. From a privacy perspective, you do have the opportunity to turn off that approachable signal if you don't want to show it. You also, when you have an up-to-date profile and your current company, and you have your current company in there, if they're actually in talent search and searching, your information will be found, but we'll flag and kind of suppress any information that shows you're active. So they're not going to see whether you're approachable. They're not going to see any information on salary, when you last updated your information on SEEK, and they're not going to look at your notice period either. So you're protected in that sense as well. And then finally, just a key thing about interviewing from home. This has been happening a lot since COVID. So I just wanted to this is from an article, and I just really wanted to quickly end on this. So really just make sure that you have accessibility to either your WhatsApp, your FaceTime, your Skype. Sometimes hirers will, they want to call you and have a mobile phone conversation as well. So just, be really aware of that, and just include them in your CV cover letter. I was talking before about technology and environment. So once the interview is set, just do some dummy runs. So do some dummy runs, really check out your technology, think about your camera and how you look. Also just check that wireless connection or your internet connection. And then, as I was saying before, dress professionally, whether you're going internally for a interview or whether you're having one online. I find a lot of candidates are a lot more comfortable when they are having interviews over technology, just from the conversations that I'm having. But you still need to dress the part and just convey the professionalism in that interview and just make eye contact. So in part of my session today, I wasn't making eye contact with you because I was looking at a secondary screen. When you have an interview, you're not being distracted with a secondary screen. You're going to be talking to them directly. So always retain your eye contact. I was having a look to see if I could find some key outtakes, and Hayes, which is a large recruiter, they asked 100 employers to list what catches their attention in job interviews. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there into the sphere. So first one is showing confidence and a positive attitude. So I've talked a few times today about positive attitude and really thinking about communication. I always say breathe, think about what you're going to say, and then talk. If you just go in and talk straight away, you may completely forget where you are going. So we need to take time and think. Use real life examples to demonstrate answers. Be enthusiastic about that role. Communicate the benefits and what you're going to bring to that business. Prepare questions. So you always want to have questions in advance for the interviewer. Display a good understanding of the role, which I spoke to earlier, and just be an active listener. So listen to them when they're speaking as well as you answering. That's really it from me. Is there any questions out there? And thanks for having me. You can put it in the chat. Yeah, unmute yourself. Completely up to you what you want to do in terms of questions. But hopefully, you're able to take some information from that. Okay, here we go. You've talked about having multiple CVs in the Seek profile. I'd like to know how we can upload multiple CVs and how it can help. I think really you want to have your default CV. So the default CV is your main CV. And that's the one where you don't really tweak or tailor. But that's what hirers will see when they're searching for Seek profile. So whatever happens, we need to ensure that your default CV is always up to date and really in line with your profile. When you add secondary profiles, so when you are on the profile and it says attach CV, when you have one there already, let me jump in. I'll show my screen again. We'll jump in directly. Okay, so when you're in here, when you have a CV, it'll sit here, and then you can add more here. So you can add further CVs. So it'll show you what CV you have. So I always recommend dating the CV. So name the CV so you understand what type of CV is sitting there, and then put a date towards it. Sometimes having multiple CVs is effective when you're looking at lots of different industries, and that might help. You can also upload when you're applying directly, so you can use Dropbox or anything like that to upload a CV that you have as you're going through the process. But sometimes if you're doing that, just keep an eye on that default CV and that it does make sense and is always up to date. Hopefully that answered your question, Sheena.
Gemma, just a question regarding when the learners add the CV.
Yep.
The format will be Word, PDF. What do you recommend to the format of the file?
Format of the file, so it doesn't really matter too much. You can have it as a Word document, and you can have it as a PDF. Sometimes you can even have it as a Google Doc. You just need to be aware sometimes of the technology of the businesses that you're applying for and the technology. From a Seek perspective, PDFs are absolutely fine, and Word's absolutely fine, and Google Docs are fine. So try and keep it as simplistic as you can. So yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. The ATS system, so the application tracking systems that the businesses are using, should be able to at least look at those three main ones and for that.
Brilliant, thank you.
Sheila asked in the chat if you can upload a master CV and if that's okay.
Yep, that master CV is fine. So that would be your default CV. But what I was saying before, when you're applying for roles, is you kind of do want to tailor your CVs and your cover letters to that role.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's when you may want to play around with the CVs. And that's why it may be handy to have a couple of CVs in there. Or if you're just uploading from your phone or your Dropbox, that you do have a couple sitting there that you can just upload and just make sure it's obviously named accordingly.
And Gemma, thank you so much for the presentation. I've seen quite a lot of people are starting to add like a profile pic on the CV, but then you said earlier that, you know, you don't want to include anything like anything that's a bit personal, like ethnicity, age, and all those details. So what would you say for that? Like, yeah, because, you know, you're putting yourself out there, so people will see your ethnicity and approximate your age and that you're female and all those details. What would you say for that, like adding a photo on the CV?
It is really interesting. My personal preference is you still don't need a photo on there. Of course, if you have your LinkedIn profile, you will be seen. But it's all about trying to remove any biases in the situation.
Yeah.
The businesses are now trying to do what we call blind screening. They'll remove any information on you that could maybe give away anything about you, including your name. So we have a lot of blind screening happening right now. So again, I'd recommend not putting your photo on there. Certain industries potentially are a bit more well known, such as hospitality, more likely to put a photo. But usually, you don't need a photo when you're applying for those types of roles. And who knows how that will evolve? Who knows how that will evolve in time? Even from a Seek perspective, when we had a profile, we had those circles, and the strategy, you know, thinking further afield is what we would have photos in there. It still may happen down the line, but it's not going to happen right now. So yeah, hospitality potentially, but you don't have to. It's not a requirement.
Okay.
Don't feel like you have to. I know every time we do visas and everything like that, there's so many photos of me, you know, and you just feel like everything I do, every form has to have a photo. From a role perspective, you don't need to.
Gemma, I just noticed on the profile section, you had silver there. What does that indicate?
So that is just giving an indicator of the strength of information that you're giving. So for example, my profile set is silver. I've answered quite a lot of the boxes, not in a lot of depth at all, but it's kind of going to be giving me some tips here. So it's actually telling, hey, you know, let's update your work history. It's been a little while. So if I keep clicking next tips, you're 50% more likely to be contacted by employers if you add a resume, so a CV, at a minimum salary. So it's just giving you tips, and you want to get to that gold standard. So for me, because I'm utilizing the sections, but not really in much detail, I'm sitting on that silver status.
Good. Has anyone got any more questions? Chat box, or put your hand, or everyone's on camera. Switch off. Hard to put your hand off and you switched off. And any more questions in the chat box? No.
We're done.
Well, it's a wonderful presentation, Gemma. Thank you so much.
Right.
So many helpful tips in there that just didn't know about.
I just want to relay this. So just on the chat. So speaking as an employer, just as some advice when doing interviews online. So just some further advice for you. Make sure you have closed any non-relevant documents and tabs on the internet, so you don't accidentally share information that is not relevant to your job search.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Again, that's, as I was saying before, the your digital cleanse check. And that's the same thing. So yeah, even me, when I do presenting, I have to ensure everything is shut before presenting. Otherwise, you'll get pings and maybe conversations popping up that you don't want people to see. So exactly the same thing on online. So yeah, really thanks for sharing that as well. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I think unless anyone else has got any more questions, we wrap up.
Just really appreciate your time. So thanks for having me. And if you have any further questions, just add me on LinkedIn and send me a message. More than happy for you to connect into my network.
Appreciate that, Jenna. That was wonderful. Thank you.
No worries. Catch you later. Have a lovely
Catch you
rest.
later.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest.
Thank you, Gemma.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gemma. Bye. Mhm.